He does see, in creating these two polarities between the Muslim world and the Jewish and Christian crusaders, he does see an essential and eternal hostility between the two sides, does he not? That, in fact, it's not the Muslims who he's defending who are the aggressors, but in fact it's the other side who are the aggressors against the Muslims.
His is always, you're right, his is always a message of defense. And if you want to take one constant theme, it's honor betrayed, honor regained. The honor betrayed is that the Muslim world was always able to count on other allies. If they were non-Muslim, they would respect the preeminence and the superiority of Muslims. But it was always Muslims as leaders of the world and others either deferential to or cooperated or both with them. And now here you have a group where in the modern world, they not only don't respect Muslims and acknowledge their leadership, but oppose them, fight them, limit them, kill them. And what he focused on in that message was the killing. The number of Muslims killed, and he linked it very much to the killing in Iraq. He linked it the sanctions that have been imposed on Saddam Hussein. He also linked it to the killings that were going on in Chechnya, in Kashmir, and in the Philippines. Every place in the world where he could point to a place that Muslims have lost and other people, always identified religiously, always identified not simply as Philippines or Indians or Bosnians, but people who were identified as Christians were killing Muslims. And of course, the centerpiece of it all was Palestine, where it was a Jewish state with Christian money. He identified America as a Christian entity. A Jewish state with Christian money killing Muslims. So the battle line was drawn, Muslims were the victims, and honor that was lost had now to be honor reclaimed, and he was the one reclaiming it.
In making these arguments and seeing the world in this way, he is drawing on a 20th century tradition of political Islam that does ask the question of why have the Muslims fallen under foreign influence? Why are they not more powerful than they once were? Where did that power go? How is it dissipated and undermined? So in this sense, even though he puts his own gloss on some of these things, there is a certain continuity with earlier thinkers and earlier traditions of Islam's presence in the modern world.
True, but not true. True that he identifies with it, but not true that he takes it and adapts it exactly as it has been projected before. The one thing that is the case with Qutb and with Maududi and with a host of other really subtle Muslim thinkers, especially I would say Maududi. Maududi says, until you have first understood your own inner conscience, until you have decided that you are really the servant of a higher power, let's call it God, that you are really God's servants and not, as it were, those following your own desires or your own inclinations and your own interests, until you've made that kind of resolute self-assessment, you cannot then go out and fight others. And what bin Laden does is to say, we've already made that decision. We've already made the decision that it's not simply an individual, but a group, first of all, group obligation. Jihad, there are technical words for it, but instead of just being an individual decision, it's a collective decision, and it must be that now the Muslim Ummah, or total community, I call it the meta-state of Islam is so much under attack that it's no longer a question of conscience, of reflection, of individual decision. All Muslims must obey me and say, I am going to take on the devil. And the devil is both the United States and Israel and also all the Arab leaders. The one thing that has to be emphasized again and again is that he never allows for the possibility of someone else to be a leader, to someone else to be recognized as a religious and political authority. He arrogates to himself the power to speak on behalf of all Islam and of his group, Al-Qaeda, to represent all Muslims.